This episode is brought to you by Audi. The road is calling. Embrace the thrill of the drive with the all-new, fully electric Audi Q6 e-tron. Featuring effortless power, serious acceleration, and advanced Audi tech. It's not just a new EV. It's a new way to experience driving. The all-new, fully electric Audi Q6 e-tron is here. The next chapter of Audi starts now.
Average is not invited. Not if you're holding your company off-site in Las Vegas. We aren't on friendly terms with the bare minimum, and unenthusiastic is uninvited. Las Vegas's creative energy and world-class hospitality want to bring your company off-site to crazy new heights. That's why fear-based leadership is afraid of Vegas, and boring won't be there, but it will be watching the meeting recordings later. Plan for the extraordinary at vegasmeansbusiness.com.
Hey, I'm Amanda from Trifecta Fitness. We're proud to be Clarksville's new Get Fit headquarters. Trifecta Fitness is a state-of-the-art spin and strength training studio. Our spin studio is truly one of a kind in this area, complete with 20 state-of-the-art live fitness bikes and an incredible sound system. Our strength training is done in small groups of 6 or fewer, and all of our strength and spin classes are scalable for every level of experience. Come see us in the heart of Clarksville, just behind MAPCO at the corner of Old Trenton Road and Wilma Rudolph Boulevard. Call us for more info at 931-542-6265 or download our Trifecta Fitness app for a full list of upcoming classes.
For every veteran, there is a story about a calling to serve, to fight for the freedoms of the American people. And every story has a struggle, a sacrifice, and invisible wounds. Warrior Watts programs help veterans recover from PTSD and invisible wounds through exercise, nutrition, and connecting with other veteran leaders. It is estimated that 22 veterans die each day by suicide, and another 30 veterans die each day by substance abuse. These are preventable deaths. Warrior Watt is committed to fighting PTSD through fitness, nutrition, and community.
All right. Welcome back.
Misfit Nation. Misfit Nation. The Misfit Nation Show.
We are a show founded by a veteran and hosted by 2 veterans and a military spouse. Our mission is to get people to tell their stories to the world. If you're an author, share your tips with the Misfit Nation. If you're a musician or an actor, our audience needs to know how they too can get into the business. Coaches. We love our coaches. Come on and share your tips with the Misfit Nation to help them become better versions of themselves. If you are a corporate leader or an entrepreneur, come on and show how you did it and how hard you have fought for success. If you are a veteran, first responder, or Gold Star family, we would love to have you come on and share your story with the Misfit Nation. We always have time for you. If you're feeling down, alone, or starting to see the darkness, Stop. Think about those who are around you. You are not alone. You will be missed. If you feel like your problems will be a burden to those in your inner circle or feel embarrassed, dial 988. If you are a veteran, take option 1. We need you to keep pushing forward. Don't make a permanent solution to a temporary problem. If you are a new listener, welcome to the Misfit Nation Show. Be sure to subscribe to our show on your favorite podcast app. Also on our YouTube channel at @the_Misfit Nation. Subscribe and click the bell to keep you up to date on our latest episodes and all of our news. You can also find us on Heroes Media Group and About Face Radio. Now, let's get to the show!
All right. The ToosDay Crue is here, hosted by Stephen LaMonica and Jay Collin. It is a Misfit Nation production that brings powerful stories of grit, resilience, and leadership to life. Steven is a business leader and YouTube consigliere, ensures the show runs smoothly, providing real-time feedback and maintaining discipline during live broadcast. Jake, a 25-year Army veteran and former EOD tech. We call him Hurt Locker. We call him Lacey. Offers deep insights from his extensive service, which includes multiple combat deployments and VIP missions around the globe. Together, they welcome guests from diverse backgrounds to share their journeys, inspiring listeners with stories of overcoming adversity and leading with purpose. Whether you're tuning in for the insightful discussions or to enjoy Steven's passion for NASCAR or Jake's anecdotes from his farm in Kentucky, the ToosDay Crue delivers a unique blend of entertainment and inspiration every week. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the ToosDay Crue! All right. We are live. Welcome to the ToosDay Crue, a Misfit Nation production. Now we bring you Steve from the Polar Ice Caps of New Jersey and Jake off the road from Oklahoma. He's back in Katie's and he's ready to rock the world tonight. So let's give him a loud round of applause for the ToosDay Crue.
Good evening, Jake. How are you?
Well, I'm cold.
You're cold?
Yeah, the days were like 60 down in Oklahoma. And we got up here at the house. And we got a gas heater here in the house, so we didn't want anything to happen while we was gone, so we turned it off. And the house was 44 degrees when we came into it. So we've got it. It's up to about 55, 60 now. So we're doing okay.
I was going to say, it's like 36 degrees here, and I'm in a T-shirt. I'm like, wow, this is great.
Yeah, but it's not 36 inside your house.
So your trip was good? You got home okay? That's good.
Trip was good. Got home okay. And I want to share something that I shared with everybody, or that I shared with you guys. I want to share it with everybody. I was in Paragould, Arkansas today and saw the boat car. And apparently this guy drives all around the country. He's from Pensacola, Florida. He was in his boat car. It was like a 1986 Bayliner mounted on a 2017 Ford Excursion. And he's driving around in the boat, got the boat horns on it and everything. And I rolled down the window and told him, I said, man, I've seen everything till I thought I'd seen everything till I saw this. And he just smiled and waved and looked up his Facebook page after a bit. And his motto is, if he can make one person laugh or maybe even pee themselves a little, he's had a successful day. So that's what he does. He's out there spreading smiles and laughter and love, and good on him. Good on him.
That sounds like the gentleman we interviewed a couple of weeks ago. He said it is a Toyota minivan from Japan that it was right-hand driving. He had his Doberman on the passenger side, where it was looking for the driver. The dog just sitting there hanging out as he's driving down the road.
He ought to get something
to laugh at.
He ought to get the Doberman. He ought to get the Doberman his own little steering wheel he can hang on to.
That would be fantastic.
Hey, I was reading the bio of our guest, Luis Hernandez. I'm not going to go into it a lot. Looked like he had a pretty rough start, but he's overcame all that. He overcame it and became what he is today. And, immigrant parents, didn't have anything growing up, got out of it, went to college, like we say, pulled himself up by the bootstraps and went. And he has went far. So without any further ado, let's get Luis in here. Luis.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. What an honor.
Did you like that opening? He's all excited and screaming.
Yeah, that was great. And I assume you have a lot of guests who are veterans, so I really want to thank all of them. And Jake, I know you're a veteran as well, so thank you very much for all your service and all of the listeners out there who are veterans.
Thank you.
a lot of good for the best country in the world. So thank you.
Yes,
Thank you,
yes.
Chris.
Lewis, I covered a little bit on your bio. Not much. Gave about the 2-cent version. If you want to just start from whenever you want to start and take us to right where we are now, tell us about yourself.
Sure. I mean, I think my story is from childhood is not much different than you've seen and heard a million times, and just a poor kid who grew up in a poor neighborhood and actually not too far from Steve. And I started out in Queens, New York, and then I was out in Providence, Rhode Island, and my parents immigrated here from Colombia, South America, and they don't have high school, not even a high school diploma or anything like that. So they worked really hard in factories and cleaning jobs, and all of the blue collar, behind the scenes work that drives our country really. And luckily, I was able to get out of that, and like you said, go to college and do all right for myself. And then that's where it really, it started to change, right? I got into real estate at some point, and I always fantasized of being like a big real estate mogul. My father worked a little bit as a super for a building in Queens, and I just remember like meeting the owner and thinking like, oh, him saying he had a bunch of buildings and we'd have to move around because they would tell him, he had other buildings that we had to work out of. So I just thought, hey, wouldn't it be great to be on the other side of that? So I aspired for that. And then we had moved to Baltimore after college, and it was going pretty well. And for many years, well, like six or 7 years, did really well, mostly in flipping houses. And then, the 2008 crash happened. And, being young and naive and not having prepared well for it, it kind of took us out. And there I was, I changed, the path for my family. And now I had 2 little girls, a 1 and a 3-year-old. And there we were facing complete business loss, and went through all of our savings and tapping equity in our properties and everything. And finally it just ran out and there's nothing we could do. So we kind of lost it all. And so I think that's really where I started to grow up. Like as a child, I didn't really think any different. It was what I knew. And I had a great childhood, even despite everything. I very happy and all that. But, when you have the pressures of, as a father, of, providing for your family, a roof and food and everything, and you're 1 and a 3-year-old, and you face all of a sudden the reality it might not be able to do that, as you can imagine, that really starts to mess with the psyche, especially because I had pretty much only known success up until then, right? When you start from the bottom, there's only one way to go up, right? And then once you start to taste a little bit of success and you all of a sudden lose all of that, it's like, whoa, that really, I mean, it's something that still haunts me to this day, that I still am recovering from. I feel like, it's my major downfall. So from there, I got into long distance running somewhere along the way. And that's kind of what taught me all of the soft skills that you learn to persevere and push through and build positive community and positive mindset, and invest for the long term, and all those kind of things. And slowly but surely started to turn it around. Went back to school, got an MBA, got into the corporate world, realized I didn't like the corporate world, and ended up going back into real estate. And since then, I've still been in, and build a little brokerage here in Denver. Got into some development, some investing, help other investors prosper as well. And it's been going a lot better this time around. Yeah.
Got a question for how much of an influence, your father being a super and you being around your father, because I know I was lucky enough to be around my father my whole childhood, and most of my learning about my work ethic and teaching me how to do things came from him.
Yeah.
is that where you got most of your work ethic and drive?
I think somewhat, to be honest with you, my father was not a very positive figure. He was there. I was very fortunate that I had both parents at home. A lot of my friends didn't, right? But however, you know, he was a hardcore alcoholic and very abusive. He beat us, me and my sisters and my mother up a lot. And, you know, and physically and verbally. And there was a lot of alcohol use there. And yeah, and that was that. But we did connect in the way he did have a very hardcore work ethic, like you said, and work was how we connected. He would take me, oftentimes he'd work in a factory and then he'd go and clean, you know, office buildings in downtown Providence, for example. And I would, and he would take me along with him or do carpet cleaning and take me along with him. And I would help him out. And so, you know, just learn to do that. That's stuff that I still do to this day. You know, I mean, when things are slow for me in my business, I still get out and do, you know, work with my hands out wherever. I'll put up, you know, handyman sign. I enjoy it. I really enjoy the work, to be honest. And so I'll go and just help somebody fix things. But I have a hard time staying still and not not working. You know, so yeah.
Speaking of staying still and having to work all the time, how did you get through the housing crash? I mean, what did you do to keep it together? Because I know there's a lot of people that didn't.
Yeah, no, there are a lot of people that didn't. As a matter of fact, from the whole time that I was involved, I only really know one person that made it through and really prospered. And he had a different investment strategy, which we can talk about. But I didn't make it through, to be honest. We lost it all. We lost our home. You know, I had to go back to a job. My first job out of college and undergrad was for the Boy Scouts of America. And luckily, after being away from there for 8 years, I went back and that was the last job I had. And they took me back. And I went from being used to, for many years, making, you know, over $200,000 a year and having a 7-figure net worth in my mid to late 20s and early, you know, and the immaturity that comes with that to all of a sudden having a $30,000 a year job again, you know, and that was very humbling. And, but it just felt great. I mean, I remember at first when I went back, having the water cooler conversations and everybody's complaining and bitching and moaning, you know, about the jobs and, you know, all the gossip and politics that happen. And I was just like, I can't believe they're still paying me to just show up here and just banter with people. And it was kind of funny. So that kind of just provided a floor, you know, and then from there I could start growing again. I got a promotion that brought us out here to Colorado, applied to business school. They gave me an okay scholarship and wound up going and getting an MBA. So that allowed me to learn what I didn't know. You know, the first time around, it was just blind ambition, just grind, you know, and work. And that made me successful for a while till I didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't, you know, when you're young and all you know is success, you start to become kind of arrogant and lose, you know, you don't take advice well and all that kind of stuff. And so I had to go back and go to school and pay for that advice and learn business the right way and, you know, learn how to study economic cycles and market cycles and finance and all the stuff I should have been learning along the way the first time around.
Well, yeah, you shot up that ladder, but you always had where you came from to fall back on, and you knew how it was hard at the beginning and, you know, growing up and everything. So you should have been able to jumpstart yourself from there. You know, the same thing here. I grew up in Jersey City and it wasn't the best of times. It wasn't actually the worst, but you did what you did and you moved. And if you fall back a step, you think about what you did back then, and then you're ready to pick yourself back up.
That's right.
Obviously, that's what you did, you know?
Yeah. And running also helped me a lot with that, right? I got in 2010, I wasn't a runner. I was kind of out of shape. I was a lot bigger, heavier than I am now. In my early 20s, I smoked too. but I had stopped smoking. By then I had married my wife, and my wife always said she wouldn't marry me if I smoked. So that didn't last, but I still wasn't very healthy. And I went to go visit a friend on the way back from Rhode Island to Baltimore. And he was that friend that in college, I hadn't seen him in about 5 years at that point. And during college, he was that guy that was, he was kind of always out of shape and clumsy and all that. And I say this with all love, but we all have a friend like that that's very just non-athletic and what have you. And I'd seen him, and he tells me, "Hey, he's running a marathon." And I'm like, "Come on, man, you!" And he'll laugh at this himself, to this day. But yeah, he was doing it, and I was so impressed by that. And he showed me, and I got really curious, and he gave me this book called The Non-Runners Marathon Training. And it was actually a college course. I think 2 guys out of the University of Idaho, if I remember correctly, they lead a course on running a marathon. The final exam is you got to finish it. That's all. Just finish it. Doesn't matter what time. And the book reads like a journal, week to week. And so I was like, whoa, I want to do this. So that helped me start setting goals again. Setting benchmarks for achieving the goals, all that. But before one of the first things the book tells you to do it tells you to do 2 things. One is pick a race, to sign up for it, pay the fee, sign up for it, put it on the calendar. The other one is to make sure that you can run for a half hour straight before you start without stopping. And at that time, so I was like, okay, let me see what I could do. I couldn't even run 5 minutes. It was impossible. So I learned, so I had to take a step back even before I started the book and do like a couch to 5K program where you just run 5 minutes, walk 5 minutes, and just keep increasing the run part. And then by the end of that, it took about 6 weeks. Then I was able to start that training. And I did the Philadelphia Marathon at the time in 2010. But that was the beginning of something really magical that happened to me. I got introduced to just a lot of amazing people just started coming into my world, people that had no business probably being around, but, because I would run alongside of them and, they would be there, and they all had great lessons for me to learn and hold me accountable and inspire me and vice versa, of course. And through those are really the lessons that I think have taught me to come back in a sustainable way and grow. Right. Mm-hmm. So, much more so, I would say, than, an MBA or anything like that.
Got a question here from Twitter from Shabigbu on Twitter. As someone who has rebuilt and defined success multiple times, what are your current goals and how do you envision continuing to impact lives through your work and experiences?
Yeah, thank you for the question. First of all, I love the name Shabigbu. Isn't that great?
That is.
But, my current goals, they're shifting. I'm 48 now, going to be 49 in a month. Really, as you're getting close to that, any big benchmark age, you start to think about things heavily. My kids have a 19-year-old and a 16-year-old. So we're starting to think about empty nestedness and what that looks like, before we have grandkids or anything. So our current goals are actually within 3 years to my wife and I to be able to have a nomadic life. We want to go live around the world wherever we care to, not really. We went to Japan earlier this year for a marathon, actually, but we fell in love with it there. So I'd love to meet your friend on the van out there with the dog. But but other parts of the world, we just want to explore while we're still able, before we have grandkids. And we want to figure out how to, inspire people along the way to just go after big goals and keep working at them. There's something really satisfying in that. So the way I do that now is I have a podcast myself. It's called the Wayfinder Show. We have a newsletter as well. It's called the Wayfinder Weekly. And in there, we just try to also do a lot like what you're doing, talk to other inspiring folks, subject matter experts in areas that will help us improve our lives and get more in touch with our authentic selves and grow. And I'm hoping to turn that into something that will allow me to allow my wife and I to travel the world and inspire people along the way. That's really what's filling my bucket the most right now. However, it's not there yet. I mean, real estate is still, how we eat. It's still, I'm an agent out here in Colorado with a small brokerage and some deals, and that's still how we do it. So the goal is within 3 years to transition from there to more of something to be able to inspire people and build a community online.
Now, how did COVID hurt in Colorado with the real estate?
Oh man, at first it was really scary because when it first hit, the governor passed something that said that you couldn't. At the time, I was doing more residential real estate, and I was just a regular agent, and I was still on my own really, and we couldn't go look at houses. So they said you couldn't look at a house unless it was under contract. Basically, you couldn't take somebody out. So at first that was really hard, and the market just kind of hit a wall. And then something happened around mid-July. That was like March, right? Late March, early April.
Right. And
I was scared. I didn't know what to do. I thought, I had huge traumatic flashbacks. What do we do? And obviously I couldn't take anybody. I couldn't convince anybody to go look at a house, and put in an offer without looking at it and all that. Right. And then something happened in July. If you remember, the rates just dropped really big time. They started to say that we were I forget what they called it, that allowed us to go and start showing houses again. And all of a sudden it just became like boom town. I mean, everything just took off. So those 2 months were really long. What did I do during that time? I worked on my house. At the time we had a little old house in a different neighborhood in Denver. And I worked on all the projects I wanted to. I changed all the plumbing. I added a bathroom, did the exterior, all the siding, all that, because there was nothing to do. There was no work you could do. And then all of a sudden people, we could show how the governor lifted that ban, and we could show houses, and I'm calling and people coming out. And then like there's bidding wars everywhere, and just it went bananas for about 2 years. Right. So it was really hard at first, but it went completely the other way, and it just became boom times. And that's when I started getting the team and the brokerage. I got into the commercial stuff. Started getting international investors who wanted to come to Colorado, and developers. And so I started doing land assemblies, all kinds of incredible business for a little while, really till recently. Like this year started to get tough again. But really? Yeah, but I think it just stopped it for a minute, and then it just took off like crazy. Yeah.
Well, that's why I asked in Colorado, because Jersey was a little bit longer, and I actually have customers that come in that are in real estate that are driving Uber to make money because the sales aren't there. When there are sales, it's pretty much the seller's market because it's a bidding war here in New Jersey. People will line up around the damn block to look at a house, and a house that's worth $200,000, it's on for $700,000 because people just want to get out of where they are and come here, and it's just one big bidding war.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was like. It was insane. I mean, my record was 130,000 over asking price, and losing. Yeah. I mean, it's pretty crazy. Yeah, but not anymore. I mean, we're definitely back. I think it's a more stable market. It's good it's good and bad for both. Seller. I think the average time on the market now is up to about 2.5 months. I mean, I have a wonderful listing now that easily would have sold a year ago, well over asking, and now it's not really getting the traction it should. So, yeah, it's changed again for sure. It's very cyclical.
I got another question here from Kylie Nopris. Competing in the World Marathon Majors is an extraordinary achievement. What parallels do you see between long-distance running and the journey of building resilience and success in business and life?
Yeah, thank you for the question and the compliment. Yeah, the World Majors is one of the achievements I'm most proud of. Although, as you probably know, they're adding more. They just added Sydney, and they're looking at adding 2 more. So I guess I'm not all done anymore. For those listeners who don't know, the World Majors, there's 6 of them. Now there's 7. It's the biggest marathons in the world, and they're pretty hard to get into. Some of them only you can get into by qualifying with a time standard and all that. And I was fortunate enough to finish my last one this year in Tokyo. Although now, again, like I said, they added Sydney, and we're going to add 2 more. As far as your question about how it helps build perseverance and resilience, that's exactly what it does. I mean, when you set these big long-term goals, that's what it teaches you, right? I believe what I'm most critical with myself about is I still remember in 2009, it was 2009 when, I mean, it was a real struggle. And we were out of money. We were just, I mean, we had like nothing. And I couldn't think of, there was nothing I could do to like figure out how to get out of this mess. And, we wound up declaring bankruptcy, and that was really, really hard. I had never given up at anything in my life. And it made me, it's something I still hold. Like I quit, I feel like I quit. And, it's a challenge I still have. And I think running and setting big long-term goals has helped me get through that and realize you just got to keep going and put one foot in front of the other. If I go and put myself back in that time, and I've worked on that a lot, I realized there was probably no other solution for me in that time. And we're lucky that we live in this country, which Jake and a lot of our listeners have fought so hard for us to be able to do this, to be able to go and have a second chance and work hard. And when we recognize that, we should be giving back as much as possible because of that, because there's a lot of countries where that just doesn't happen. And that's what makes our country great. But I learned that lesson mostly through running. At the time, I would pretty much quit anything. Quitting is a muscle, just like anything else, like resilience and persistence. So I feel like when you quit at anything, you can quit at everything. Just like what running, I'd go out for my runs and I'd be like too tired. Oh, I'll just walk here, or I just give up. I don't need it today, or what have you. Well, that develops a cycle. And then you don't get your goals, right? And you don't hit the times you want or finish the race or whatever. And so you got to really learn to push through all of that. And then once you do, it becomes easier. I mean, it becomes very easy just not to quit and push through and put one foot in front of the other because you've built that muscle versus the quitting muscle. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Not that me and Jake are going to be running anytime soon, but.
Yeah. Bigger goal. Before I even knew what the World Marathon Majors were, I started running in, we had moved to Boulder, Colorado. For people who don't know, Boulder is kind of like a running mecca. And it's also a bubble of like really high achievers, that come from all over. A lot of really high achieving people come from all over, and they seem to retire there at a very young age and do really well. So there's a saying about Boulder that you can be the best in the world and be third in Boulder. Which is just kind of tells you what kind of town it is. And so I started running there, once we moved here with people, and I kept moving, as I got more fit and started doing all the little things to become a better runner, started getting faster and faster. And I started setting my everybody else I'd run with, they had run the Boston Marathon. And I went to college in Boston, and I just remember the Boston Marathon being the day you had off and you can go and drink beer in the streets. That's like the only day that you can do that in Boston, right? Because there's so many blue laws and without getting arrested. So, but the more I looked into it, I'm like, wow, this is the oldest marathon. How great would it be how great would it be to go back to Boston and as a runner? Like, wouldn't that be incredible and do this? And so I said, all right, I'm going to run the Boston Marathon. So, but to do that, you got to qualify by running another marathon in a certain amount of time. And now I'm in my mid-30s. At that time was really fast. My first marathon was almost 5 hours. It was like 4:56, 4:52, something like that. That was almost 5 hours. And I had to get like under 3:15. So not, 3 hours and 15 minutes, which was a lot. And so I went and I got into the New York Marathon. And that was my first one back towards road running. And I thought, because I was pretty speedy in short workouts, but I didn't realize that's not going to translate to a marathon. So I'm thinking I'm going to go there and I'm going to get it at the New York Marathon. And I ended up running over 4 hours, which wasn't even close. And it was humbling. I'm like, all right. And I was getting injured along the way and, everything was wrong. So that's when I'm realizing, okay, I got to take a different approach. And I went and got a coach and joined a group. And they told me, you got to slow down, run more, get yourself, better overall fitness, do all the small things that, when nobody's watching kind of things. And those are lessons for life right there. Right. But also they'll say, you got to chip away at it slowly. So I set a goal of qualifying for Boston by 2020. And this was 2014. So every year I'd run 1 or 2 marathons and I just kept chipping away at it little by little. And that was more of that became more of a lesson in resilience and perseverance than actually the 6 world majors. Now running marathons is just fun for me. It's just, right. I'm addicted to running, so I stay in good shape. And, I've gotten I've dropped all the bad habits. Like I don't really drink alcohol anymore. I go to bed early. I wake up early. I actually started a 5 a.m. run club here. So I have other people I run with at 5 a.m. And we all hold each other accountable. So I built my community my whole life to allow me to maintain a certain pace where running marathons is not a big deal to me anymore. I almost it's just a normal thing. So going and running world majors isn't a big deal, but qualifying for Boston, that journey, that path to getting there back in the day was a big deal to me. That was the real lessons for perseverance and resilience. That's really what it is. Yeah.
And we got another question. They keep rolling in from Me Heart Mets. Through the Wayfinder Show and your work, you inspire others to pursue their dream lives. What advice do you give to someone who feels stuck in their current circumstances and unsure how to take that first step?
Wow, that's a big question. I'm wondering if you love the Mets, the New York Mets, which I do too. Grew up on the '86 Mets, which is, in my opinion, still the greatest team of all time. But yeah, I would say, this is something I still struggle with. And I think this is, I think this is something, it's an ongoing journey for life, right? I think we all get to a point where we feel stuck in something, right? And we don't know what it is, and it can cause depression and bad habits and all that. I think it's an ongoing battle. Maybe it's depression. I don't know. I don't think I'm depressed, but I've heard that that's what it could be like. I know what it is like to not want to get up in the morning and not want to shower and all of that. Luckily, I haven't had that in a long time. But I do think that there's a few things that you can do that are really practical. First of all, having a good morning routine, right? And if that morning routine should consist of some gratitude, just being grateful to God, being grateful to your family, being grateful for anything, just being alive, the cup of coffee you have in the morning, something like that. There's something about when you're just being grateful that it rewires the brain. It makes you, happy, then just setting even if you start off with just like one goal for the day, right? A friend of mine wrote a little journal where he just has 3 goals every day. And, you can make it just one. And that one goal might just be, if you feel stuck, you probably think about things you might want to try and do and just do one thing in that direction. So let's say that you want to start a podcast. Well, maybe you're going to go and you're going to find out how do you air a podcast, right? Or what is a good microphone? Just do something for it, and then the next day do 2 things and just start every day, do something towards it, put yourself in that direction. The other one I would say is surrounding yourself with positive people. Like find people who are going to inspire you. If you don't know anybody, find a podcast that do. We're in a great world now, right? People have access to Misfit Nation and they can come and hear you guys and your show. every Tuesday, and there's thousands of other great podcasts, as you guys know, out there that you can go and just get inspiration from, and put these people in your world to lift you up, right? Build that community for yourself of these positive people. So I really believe the people you surround yourself with is really important. And then just block out the negativity. You hear it, you got to just take it out. And then I also think like physical fitness is important. And that means like a good diet, a good, movement routine, whatever that is, just taking a walk around your block, just doing some jumping. It doesn't have to be everything. My family, I'm the only nut job that goes and runs around like that. But my wife has she goes and walks the dogs every day and makes it extra long up a hill. My kids get up and join her sometimes, or they'll go to the local, just something. I do think that just gets you those endorphins going. And then also foods, taking out the stuff that's not going to be good for you, like sugar. Sugar can just do so much damage to you. And I can tell I get wired up and then I have a crash. And, it's pretty amazing what we put into our body, what it does to have an effect on how we feel, But I think once you start doing things like this, they start to give you a little bit more focus. You start to get out there and start taking action and doing things. I don't know if that was too much of an answer or too little, but I hope that helped.
No, that was a lot of information you threw out there, and it was all good. What I was waiting to say is what we call that is stacking victories. You get out of bed in the morning.
Yeah,
it's a victory. You got to stack those victories during the day, and that's pretty much the same thing that you were just talking about, which is fantastic.
That's right. Yeah, what was it? General MacArthur? I forget the general who wrote the book about just starting your day off with making your bed, right? Like that's a victory.
That was an admiral. He was he was giving us a graduation speech. Admiral McCraven.
Yes, yeah, that is a fantastic speech, by the way. Yeah,
it is. Yeah. It is. It's a good. So, one of the things, you're a real estate guy. How, you see so many people do it. How do you sell a house? How would I go about selling my house?
Oh boy. You want to sell your own house or with a realtor?
Either way.
In general,
if I was going to sell my house.
Yeah. I think when the market is really good, houses just sell themselves, right? When it's not like it was a couple of years ago and we had these crazy bidding wars, you know what I mean? It really didn't matter. The house sold itself, oftentimes sight unseen. It was wild times, right? And you see that with all different markets, right? Right now I've been reading more and more stories about what's happening in this crypto market all of a sudden. You're having that euphoria there, but you have it in just about any market at different given times, right? But in a normal time, like I think we're in now, I think you have to have fair expectations, like try to, first of all, as a seller, take yourself out of the emotional attachment that you have to your property and start to look at your property as a business transaction. Okay. So it's about getting it sold and making sure, you find a good buyer for your property while, getting it done as easily for the most money you can as possible. And you got to understand, take a look at what that market's like. So I'm not a market specialist. I'm more of a market analyst specialist. Does that make sense? So I can go any given time. And even now, like when I've had a listing like this been sitting for a month or more, I go back and I look at it with fresh eyes. So what does the market look like today? What is selling? What's not? What price points? What are they in good shape? Are they in bad shape? All that. Call all the agents in the area, see what kind of activity they're getting. What are they seeing? How many showings, that kind of stuff. Really analyze it. And then you can look at it, as if without your own emotions. I'll tell you one big tip though, that a lot of people think when they're trying to sell something, hey, I'm going to start up here and, I'll take it down here. Right. I'll give somebody that gives room for a discount. Okay. I'm a big believer that in real estate, in almost any market, unless there is no market, like there are no buyers in the market at that time, which does happen. I've had properties in the mountains at given times that there's just no buyers. You go months and months without showing at any price, then it doesn't matter. But as long as there's a market, you're better off listing it fairly. Fairly meaning like, what's it really worth? Not what you think it's worth because you added that golden toilet, right? Or whatever you did, 15 years ago. It's what is it really worth today? And then maybe even a couple dollars under that, because, people, what you really want to do is have people get to inside the house and look at it and fall in love with it, because a house is an emotional buy. So have the house prepared really well, staged, everything cleaned up really nicely, nothing offensive, and priced fairly. And then you're going to have people coming in and you'll have more leverage with, yeah. And then you have more leverage with the negotiations too.
That golden toilet's in the house out back of the house.
Yeah.
Remember, I live in Kentucky.
Oh man, yeah. I guess that has other meanings there, huh?
Right next to the goose that lays the golden eggs back there.
Yeah. Wow.
Now, let me ask you. You just said calling other real estate agents. Do they actually work well together, you guys, when you call somebody else up?
Yeah, I found that the real pros do. You have and in markets like this, when you come off a really hot market to a market that's a little more normal, you get real professionals out there. There's like, I know we get a bad reputation, like if we're as if we're used car salespeople and what have you, but those people they only last for a few transactions and they go away usually. In this environment, we all try to help each other out, I feel like. And if you're not, the word's going to get out real quick, and you're not going to get showings, or people are going to give you a hard time. You can smell, a realtor who's just really difficult to work with, and you just, it makes the transaction harder. I'll give you something that I was telling my wife about this earlier. This listing I've had now, that it's been my biggest struggle in like maybe 4 or 5 years. With this listing, and she, a realtor, I talked to her afterwards to get some feedback, and we chatted for a while going over things, and she's been doing this like 20 years as well. She's a real pro. And after we chatted, she went on and left a feedback that goes, I have it automatically go to my sellers always. Like it gets, I don't filter it. I want them to see it in real time, what other people say, and she put on there something about this agent, this listing agent is a real pro. He contacted me before and after, to prep me to help prepare the house for sale, and afterwards to see how we were doing and what we could do to make a deal work and everything. You're in really good hands. Thank you so much. And that was the first time I'd ever had that done by another realtor on the other side. And I just thought that was such a classy move, because we get, as late agents, a lot of pressure. We take a lot of risk, right? We spend a lot of time, money, effort, in trying to sell a house. And in times like this, where it's not easy, it could expire, and we've put in all that work and we don't get paid at all. Right. And the sellers come back and yell at us for that, and so to get a supportive message from somebody on the other side is really, it's really thoughtful and classy, I thought. So
I always wondered that.
Excuse me?
I always wondered that. That's why I asked, because I work retail, and I work at this store, and if this company here does the same thing, and it's like, oh, don't go there, they do this, don't go there. There is no camaraderie because you're in the same business.
Right.
And that's what I wanted to know about the real estate.
Yeah, I mean, there definitely are agents
all over the place.
There definitely are agents like that. But ultimately, I think if you have a growth mindset, you realize that there's enough in the world for all of us to eat. and we're going to eat more if we help each other go and hunt together. We're going to catch more together. And I think if you have that mindset, you're going to attract that mindset. And I think that's the kind of agents that are out there right now. We're all working really hard and we're having a really hard time making money. And we have to just, we no longer have to, our sellers and buyers see that. And I don't think it's hard to justify what we do now, like it was a couple of years ago. And they just thought we made all this money so easily. And we weren't worth the commission.
Right.
I don't feel like we get that right now. So
I think we've got time for one last question. Just popped up here a few minutes ago. Hog Suey, I would say that's an Arkansas fan. You have a great mantra of starting habits and goal setting. What daily habits or routines have been instrumental in your success, and how do you align them with your long-term goals to ensure continued growth and fulfillment?
Yeah, thank you for that. My habits are, I mentioned my morning routine, always get up, start with gratitude. I do a little meditation. I try anyways. I'm not really good at staying still, but obviously I run a little bit every day. And I try to get that out of the way early. It's just so many things that can come throughout the day. And I realized I had a hard time being consistent when I would run at night or any other time because things happen throughout the day. Right. So if I start out at 5 a.m, there's no excuse. Nothing ever gets in the way except for me. So if I don't allow me to get in the way, then that's it. Then other than that, I don't really have any other regular habits so much anymore. I do have some weekly habits. Like I'm big into eating healthy and everything now. So I do a lot of meal prepping, that kind of thing on weekends. I have routines for my podcast because it is something that's more of a passion project still. So I just have some habits around that, like when I record and when I publish and edit, publish, that kind of stuff. But other than that, there's not much else. Make sure I dedicate at least 2 hours a day to just generating new business, I guess is the other one. Always working on that. So,
okay. Now, something we ask everybody on this show. I'm gonna change it up a little bit because you kind of already talked about your 3 things that you do every day. What's the top 3 songs on your playlist for running?
Oh, I'm going to give you an answer you don't want to hear because I don't really listen to anything when I run.
Oh, okay. Hey,
but
some people do, some people don't.
Yeah, I get it.
Some people put podcasts on.
I try to meditate and I don't, but now I don't regularly. I try to make it a habit, but that hasn't grown. But I guess running without music can be meditative, right? Although I usually have other people with me for probably 4 to 5 runs a week. Yeah. But yeah, I don't have any real songs. The music I like though, I like old salsa music from like the 70s to the 90s. I like old school hip hop, just having grown up in the Northeast, in the 80s and 90s, all that stuff. I have no idea what's out there now. Just whatever. I hear my daughter's music in the background and I don't, sounds like noise to me, but that's the general.
That's what most of it is. And part of it is the old music we listen to because they can't make their own new music.
Yeah.
They just cut old songs.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I do journal. I do journal a lot. I used to have a regular journal routine with my gratitudes and achievement and all that. I don't so much anymore. Now I just I do have it by my bedside, a journal that I just write in whatever thoughts are in my head now. It's just kind of a bullet journal. But I don't have a regular routine with gratitudes. I just say it. I just get up and consciously think about it. Oh, The other thing I do is I do two note cards a day. Something I learned through a sales training I went through many years ago. I just take two, I have note cards by my desk, and every day I start off with at least two a day of just somebody I want to send a thank you to.
Okay.
And that would probably be the other one. But I do try to just wake up in my bed and sit up and just think about what I'm grateful for. It's a big
waking up.
My life.
That should be the first thing.
Exactly.
That's right.
No, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
And
thank you for waking up.
The older I've gotten, the more we're in. We're on the heels of Thanksgiving. We're very conscious about that. But like this Thanksgiving, I really started to just become more aware of that, like how we take the small things for granted so much. And how important are they, right? You're absolutely right. Number one is that we woke up. How many people don't?
Right.
That's one day that's going to be us, and that's definitely something we should be grateful for every day.
Yeah, I might not have everything in the world that you would need, but growing up, we had 6 of us in a 3-bedroom apartment.
Yeah.
And we didn't have a car for years.
Yeah.
Here I am now. Yeah, we have money. We don't have the most money in the world, but I got 3 cars in the house.
Yeah.
My daughter, my wife, myself. It was something growing up you never had. I didn't have. If I wanted to go somewhere, we walked or we took the bus.
Yeah.
Now you just go outside, get in your car, and you drive away.
Yeah.
You're thankful for little things like that. It's a weird thing.
Yeah.
Because you don't have, everything you think, but you have a car.
Yeah. It's amazing. Especially that's another great way of, if you don't know what to be grateful for, think about where you were 10 years ago, 20 years ago as a kid.
Just growing up, yeah.
There's no comparison, right? And I would argue that would be anybody. It doesn't even matter if you grew up with more wealth than you have now or what. I'm willing to bet you just have such a better life now than you had back then, right? Yeah, same here. We lived in a 3-bedroom apartment in Queens for a while, for many years. That's what I kind of consider home. But I had 2 sisters and my parents, and we had all 5 of us lived in 1 bedroom. And we had a big mattress, I remember, that would go up on the wall during the day, and we'd fold out a table for the day, and that's where we'd sit around, eat, do homework, what have you. Then that would get folded back up, put up on one side of the wall, and the mattress would come down. And that's how we lived for many, many years. And it's wild. Yeah.
And then you see where you are today, you're like, wow.
Unbelievable. And even in my worst time, in 2009, when everything went down, we still had cars, right? Mm-hmm. We still had a roof. My kids still had their own bedroom,
right.
Each of them. So I was a teenager before I had my own bedroom.
Yeah.
Crazy. Yeah.
I had to move out to get my own bedroom.
Wow. Yeah.
I had 2 brothers. We all slept in the same room. There was 3 of us in the bedroom. Bunk beds and a regular bed.
Yeah. Wow. Well, that's motivation right there, right?
I remember those days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Luis, we have ways to get in touch with you here. The Wayfindershow.com. We've got your LinkedIn. Got your LinkedIn up there, how somebody can find you. What are some other ways people can get in touch with you?
Yeah, I am on Facebook and Instagram and all those other social medias. But I'm not on them often enough to even know what my handles are. Wayfinder Show has all of them as well.
Okay.
Wayfindershow.com. If I'm not afraid to give my phone number out. It's 720-445-5847. And my email is luihernandez@gmail.com. If anybody wants to chat about anything that might have resonated here, I'm happy to. Love to make friends anywhere in the world, and maybe we'll meet up sometime. It'd be great.
So if I've got anybody in the Denver, moving out to the Denver area that needs to buy a house, I can hook them up with you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Or if they just want to invest in Colorado, or really, I help a lot of folks with real estate investing anywhere. Like I really teach how to analyze, how to make sure you're not getting taken by somebody, so like, there's a lot of people out there that are selling all these courses and gurus, and they say, and they really talk them into these deals that may not work out for them. I won't analyze it for you. I'm going to teach you how to analyze it yourself, so you don't, get taken for a while. So, I had a friend the other day that said he wanted to go in on this deal, and he's like, oh, somebody tried to sell me this deal, and they're really good. They get deals through the city, and that's why they're off market through the city. And I'm looking at him like, look, you have the house next door. I can just buy it off of Zillow for like a $50,000 less than what the city's selling it for. And it's in perfect shape. Like, where's the deal in that? Right. So there's just a lot of shysters out there pushing a lot of stuff. It really bothers me.
It's those people with the $500 Hondas that put $20,000 in it and think it's worth $1 million. It's still a $500 Honda.
That's right. Yeah.
Oh, this hour has flown by.
Yes, it has.
We got anything else, Stephen?
No, I think that's it. I think we had a very good show, and I appreciate it.
We sure did. I wish we had all night to talk about it. And I want to tell everybody thank you for taking the time to come on to the ToosDay Crue this evening. Remember to like and subscribe, share it. I hope you got some good information out of it. I did. And we will see you next Tuesday. Louis, thank you for being here. Misfit Nation, we love you, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you, Louis. Good night, everybody.
Thank you, gentlemen. This was an honor.
All right.
This message is from the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. Did you serve in the military? If so, you can obtain a free lifetime pass to more than 2,000 federal recreation sites. These sites are located across more than 400 million acres of public lands, including national parks, wildlife refuges, and forests. The lands host activities to fit any lifestyle: hiking, biking, fishing, camping, and much more. Gold Star families are also eligible for these free lifetime passes. Plus, they cover entrance fees for a driver and all passengers in a car, or up to 3 additional adults at sites that charge per person. Obtaining one is easy. Just go to the National Park Service website, nps.gov, or the National Park Service app.
Thanks for checking us out and being a part of the Misfit Nation show. Don't forget to visit our website at themisfitnation.com. That's themisfitnation.com. Check out all our past episodes and get some of the great Misfit Nation gear for you and your family. As always, be humble, stay hungry, and keep hustling, because we are
Misfit Nation. Misfit Nation.